All right, here we are. Testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn D is for date, E is for E8.
3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Corey Pepper, and this is Quality Time with Family Ties. I am here along with Paul Packler, who may be 3,000 miles away, but seems like he's sitting right on my coffee table in my living room.
Because I am. Surprise, everybody. I'm in Sherman Oaks, and I'm sitting on Corey's coffee table.
Wow. How's the weather in New York? Are you hot and humid yet?
I mean, it's been up and down. Today was a balmy 74 degrees.
Oh, okay. But humid?
No, it's actually quite nice. Why? What is the heat like there?
We're still in our heat wave here. They're saying today is the last day of our heat wave, but we've been in triple digits, so very close to
it. We're all gonna die.
And without health coverage, so.
Well, I mean, you know, this is Thursday, so I'm sure Mitch McConnell's turned it around. Mm-hmm. But today we were able to stop them from scheduling a vote before the July 4th recess. So good job, everybody.
Baby steps, baby steps.
Yeah. So this episode is called D is for Date. It's season 5, episode 24. And I guys, gals, everyone listening, I thought this was a very good episode.
Really?
Now, do you think I should make the case for it being good, or that we should let you make the case for it being bad?
Go ahead. You make the case for it being good.
Okay. Well, I am, as we go through the episode, keep things organic. But the long story short, my thesis for this is they took an idea, they took a theme, they took a plot line for Jennifer, and they developed it over 24 minutes. It examined all the different points of view, the problems and the boons and banes of everything of her having a boyfriend. And then everybody that was giving her advice had different points of view based on their character. And not any one person was correct or incorrect. And ultimately, it was just a well-made episode of television. There were some funny parts in it. There were some things that didn't work, of course. But ultimately, I would watch this episode again. So that's my short thesis of what we're going to talk about. Corey, did I win you over already?
Jane, you heartless bitch. I feel like I'm going to counterpoint you here.
Okay.
I thought it was so shockingly anti-feminist coming from a supposedly feminist point of view. And I don't understand how 2 teenage daughters of Elise Keaton and Stephen Keaton could grow up to so easily play dumb and work to the lowest common denominator that a woman can work towards. I would have thought that their mother would have taught them better to have had more of a spine and to be proud of your uterus and stick up for yourself. And you don't need to play dumb to catch a man. If you have to play dumb to catch a man, it's not worth catching that man.
Right, right.
Just surprised that they behaved this way.
Yeah.
So I guess those are the 2 points of view. So why don't we just dig right on in? Because we start right in the kitchen.
Yeah, it starts in the kitchen, and what? Nick and Mallory are having some issues.
It seems to be the big plot, the B plot that we find out right off the bat, and that is that Nick hasn't paid his taxes in 5 years, Now, by the way, this was something I immediately thought of too. He's an artist, self-employed. What are the odds of him owing the government money?
Oh, zero. I would say zero.
And it's been that way for a very long time. The odds of him owing the government money is very slim. He would have had, the only way he could have owed money is, let's say, since he is self-employed, that he never had any taxes taken out. But I can't believe that he wasn't paid by somebody who took taxes out, because you usually don't have to worry about that. At least something's taken out of your check, and you can make the rest usually even out at the end of the year. At that age, at that stage of your life.
Right. I mean, I would say, you know, since Reagan, the tax code, how taxes are done for people have changed dramatically over the last 30 years.
Become way more complex.
Yeah, way more complex and all that kind of stuff. And then I think, didn't Reagan invent the earned income tax credit?
I think it was him, yes.
And so with that, if you have a job where you make money as opposed to invest money and you make money, it's a middle class tax cut for people that are, you know, if you have a job that pays you, you get taxes back from the earned income tax credit. It's sort of an anti-welfare type, you know, workaround that Reagan created. So I would say, if anything, he was getting money back based on the earned income tax credit, and because of his low income, he didn't have a lot taken out. He probably had some 1099s, which is what like independent contractors get, and stuff like that. And because he doesn't have a lot of dependents, he could like say that he has, you know, don't take any money out, like you were saying.
Right.
But even then, I don't feel like he's making a ton of money anyway. So if you don't make a lot of money, you don't have to pay a lot of money.
So the shtick that goes on when Nick is talking about how he hasn't paid taxes for 5 years is that he might go to jail. So just imagine what the Keatons' reaction to that is. The unmasked delight that they had of the concept of Nick possibly going away for a long time delighted them.
Yeah, it was like when George found out that his fiance had died from licking stamps.
Yes.
Now, what was crazy, though, Corey, is that these people spent Thanksgiving in jail because of their conscience. So it's funny to me that they're so blasé about someone going to prison, that they're like, oh, how dare you? You should go to prison. And, you know, these are people that fought for...
Oh, yes. Alex volunteers that he's going to help. He's going to help Nick with his taxes. Now, there's a difference between an accountant and a tax accountant.
And there's a difference between a tax accountant, an accountant, and someone in their undergrad.
Who's an assistant at the assistant bank manager when last we heard.
Right, yeah. We don't know if he's still working at the bank. We don't know if he's still in college at this point.
But he's working as a tax accountant for Nick.
Yes. So, while I said this was a good episode, this is one of those examples of things that's a little questionable.
Okay. So, Jennifer comes in at this point and announces that she has a new lab partner, and he's a dumb jock by the name of Timothy Higgins.
And she says, he's a big dumb idiot, and I don't even like him. And then she rattles off his entire bio, his likes and dislikes, you know, what his astrological sign and hair color are, you know, all this kind of stuff. Betraying herself of how much she does know and like him.
Exactly. We know right then and there she does indeed have a crush on Timothy Higgins, her new lab partner, who is going to come over soon to work on their lab. Is that what's going to happen here?
That is what's going to happen, but before that happens,
the greatest
someone comes bopping into the room, listening to a Walkman. For you kids out there, a Walkman is a cassette tape that you put into a portable player like an iPod, or even then that might be something too old. It's like an iPhone that you put plastic into to listen to one album. No, wait, that might be too much. An album is what we used to listen to when artists would create about a dozen songs into an artistic piece of something.
Vinyl.
I've exhausted myself.
Oh my Lord. And I want to know something. When you saw this piece of comedy, this brilliant, brilliant piece of comedy, surely at some point your brain probably just a glimmer of, oh my God, what's Corey's reaction to this? Because we know how this can so easily set him off. Didn't you think about that for an instant?
I was. The first thought I had was, I know Scott isn't going to be here. Will I have to do this by myself because Corey died of a heart attack?
This moment, for those of you who have
if you can't guess what we're talking, you know where this is going.
Andy comes in bopping out to something on a Walkman in a totally disconnected manner that has nothing to do with what's gone on before in the scene or what's going to happen after he leaves from this scene.
Not even in like a Devo music video have you seen someone dance this way. It's completely inorganic. It's not to any sort of beat, which, I mean, when we find out why, it makes sense.
It's like a small child was asked to dance and they didn't know what dancing was. So the adult said, oh, just like move around and like shake yourself around and move your hips a little bit, you know, sort of like this. And then they probably did something, and now Andy imitated that person.
Yeah, it's like a 45-year-old man showed a 4-year-old kid how to dance, and neither one of them knew how to do it.
It's a moment that if you can watch at home, I beg you to go just to see this one moment. It's a memorable piece of comedy.
I was seconds away from looking out how to download an app to make a GIF of his dancing.
It's really, really good. And that's the end of the scene.
Wow, you didn't even say what the punchline was.
I didn't say. So Elise lifts the earphone up, and it's not music he's listening to. It's a tape of how to invest your money wisely.
Whew. So why was he dancing?
Because an adult told him to do it. Why did he say
that? It's so good.
An adult told him to do it. Why is he doing that? Because an adult told him to do it. It's the answer to every Andy question.
Wow. So anyway, is this the part where Will Wheaton enters, or is it in scene 2?
Scene 2, which is at this point.
Okay, so let's go to scene 2. So is this later in the kitchen or the living room?
It is, I believe, it's funny, I didn't write that down this time. I think it's the living room. Yeah, it's the living room, because then we go back to the kitchen. It's the living room scene. Okay. And we meet Will Wheaton, which, by the way, you commented months and months and months ago when we saw River Phoenix on the show. You commented at that time, oh, Corey, this is just the beginning of the Stand By Me reunion tour.
Yeah, because we also had Corey Feldman in that one episode, too.
Yeah, that's right. And so you knew what was coming up. I had no clue. So when Will Wheaton came on, I was thoroughly entertained by that today.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's very ironic that Will Wheaton has made a career out of his geekdom and being a fan of all kinds of different sci-fi stuff and like all these things. And in all of the roles that he played, even back then in the 80s, he played Wesley Crusher on Star Trek Next Generation, you know, the smart kid who works on the ship. Mm-hmm. And in Stand By Me, he plays the cipher for Stephen King.
Yes.
So it's like he always has played bookish, nerdy guys. He is a bookish, nerdy guy. In this, he's the pitcher for the baseball team.
And dumb as, or supposedly as dumb as a, what's the expression? As dumb as a host.
Wow, that is some more irony for you right there. Couldn't think of dumb as. But he was very good in this episode, right?
But
what happened? What did Susanna say?
I have my reasons for being as dumb as a post-up. Go ahead.
Oh, is it very smoky where you are right now?
It is. There's been wildfires outside, so I've been breathing in smoke.
It's so hot.
It is.
You have to be safe.
You do. You have to play it safe. And my child's at Disneyland all day till late tonight. So.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. And I had to watch this dreadful episode. Let's go on, though. I'm enjoying myself. So she says at one point, Jennifer says at one point in this scene, I love this, I'm as dumb as you are, she says to Will Wheaton.
Yes.
Like it's a competition to be dumb. And, you know, he never really seems particularly dumb to me. They seem to be telling me that he's dumb, but I never really see that he's all that dumb.
No, not at all. Which I thought was going to be a bigger issue later on. It's kind of bad casting in that regard. If you want someone who's actually dumb, Will Wheaton just doesn't read that way.
But what's really, really weird now, the scene takes a turn, and this is where I have my first moments of, this doesn't ring true. It seems like Mallory all of a sudden is pimping out Jennifer.
Right.
You know, she's so excited, like, oh, look, he loves, she's cooking for him, you know, with the salami sandwich, and they're going on a date, and it just seems as though she's praising Jennifer for cooking for him, and to me, that's something that you wouldn't expect from the daughter of a feminist. You'd think a daughter of a feminist might go, you know what, a woman doesn't have to cook for a man can cook for himself.
Yeah. It goes a little bit too far with what Mallory's doing, but at the same time, I thought it was interesting because ultimately this show is about, you know, the hippie parents with the conservative son, but we always forget that Mallory is supposed to be like the materialist.
Right.
And in her way, her anti-intellectualism is sort of a rejection of the 70s women's lib movement, and so her kind of being like rejecting the women's lib, rejecting that they're equal partners in a relationship, that women are more dumb than men and all that kind of stuff. I can see it being kind of a logical extension of that, but it's not good. It's not good that's the...
And I can sort of see your point there of that it is a logical extension for Mallory at this point, for her to be as a teenage girl, as a 17-year-old girl, rebelling against her mother's beliefs.
Yeah. And so this is what I was saying earlier, is that like everybody has their own point of view in this episode of what is the right thing for Jennifer to do based on their own personal experience. And this is one example of Mallory's, that she's happy that Jennifer's happy, but at the same time, Mallory's life and the way she looks at the world is not good for Jennifer.
Right. And at this point in this scene, Andy comes on and once again performs the crucial role of being a comedy killer. And he comes into the scene like a wet blanket and says, "Is this the guy you love, Jennifer?"
It's really bad. And that's how they like end the scene, isn't it?
That's the end of the scene. Yep.
Yeah, because after that, he's made it so awkward. He's outed Jennifer's love for Tim, and so he says, "Well, do you want to go out on a date?" And she goes, "Yeah, let's go today."
Mm-hmm. So we cut to the kitchen, and now, you know, we remember when Jennifer had a study. I think it was Mallory who had a study, or was it Alex? And he had big books. Well, here we have big boxes of records.
Yes. This was God, what was it? He was helping Jennifer with her history report, so they had big books.
Big books. They're here, big boxes of records, And Mom is there swilling a delicious glass of orange juice.
Yeah. And you know what? And they don't do anything especially symbolic with orange juice in this episode. However, the fact that it's back and they don't call attention to it really, it feels like an old episode of Family Ties that was back when it was good.
You'll have to point out to me when that was. We'll find the episode.
Yeah, I mean,
I
didn't want you to have...
You find the podcast where I said an episode was good. You find one. Good luck to you, Paul.
And so, this is the B plot where Nick is trying to put together all of his receipts and W-2s and all that kind of stuff for Alex. And Steven, Elise, Alex, and Nick are all looking through it, and they pull out a card that he has. He is a member of the Mr. Rogers Society. And once again, Nick is the best person on the entire show.
See, and it's just a mere mention of Mr. Rogers to you. One of Pittsburgh's native sons.
Yes.
That I know.
Mr. Rogers and Andy Warhol.
and Primanti brothers. Wow.
Sounds pretty good right about now, right?
Yeah, if we stop right there, Pittsburgh sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, they try to make it a thing that, like, Nick is stupid for liking Mr. Rogers, whereas Mr. Rogers is a saint. And
Totally.
Anyone who likes Mr. Rogers is my friend.
I told you from the very get-go, Mr. Rogers, always, start to finish, had one of the best television shows on for young people.
Yep.
And a television artist, the likes of which we'll never see again.
He's like the Beatles of children's television.
Absolutely. Because he, and really, and totally innovator in terms of television, in terms of using camera, talking directly to the camera, using it as a one-on-one instrument. I mean, Johnny Carson, used what Fred Rogers was doing.
Yeah. So Nick has a bunch of crap that Alex has to help him with, and then everybody leaves when Tim comes in to meet with Jennifer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they are working on their... No, are they working on their science project now, or this is when she's really happy because now he thinks that she went to his baseball game?
Well, what I've done here is that Mallory and Jennifer have this girl talk scene in front of Alex. And it was sort of strange. Okay. Girl talking as much with, the Keaton girls are all girl talking. And Alex even says to Jennifer at one point in time, forget about Tim. Think about me.
Yes. I mean, very Alex, of course, the sociopath. Now, here's the thing, Corey. Can I bring this up? I think this is interesting. So at this point, Jennifer and Mallory, we're supposed to, as the audience, be annoyed at how girly they're being.
Right.
Which is a problem. That the show wants us to be annoyed with how silly and girly they are.
Right.
Alex is annoyed with how silly and girly they are, and he fights for Jennifer to be as smart as she actually is.
Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting to me because, once again, just like with Mallory, that she had things in her arguments that were good and bad, Alex wants her to be herself. But at the same time, he is a misogynist and thinks that anything that is feminine is silly or dumb. And so he's right on one thing and really wrong on another, just like Mallory was. Like, being right, having a boyfriend, having a social life is important, but at the same time, her view of gender roles and stuff like that is completely wrong. And so I think it's interesting in this episode that every character, through the prism of their experience, has good points of view and bad points of view. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting.
I think it's sad that she has to play dumb.
Yes.
I think it's sad that she doesn't know that she doesn't have to play dumb.
I think it's weird that her parents... Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't know who the role model has been to show her that she should play dumb.
Yeah, because Elise hasn't been that way. And then Mallory, everybody knows, is not a book-smart person. And I don't know why Jennifer is picking this path that is so strange for her.
So when they're alone together, Tim and Jennifer, Tim can feel her happiness, and he asks her if she wants to go steady with him.
Yeah, he gives her his Letterman jacket, and then they give each other a big hug. And I thought, oh, you can't give each other a kiss. I'm guessing maybe Tina the Others hadn't even had a first kiss because, on TV it's like, for kids it's awkward and all that.
Possible. But that brings us to our commercial break.
Yeah, that's it. And so on that note, we'll be right back. And we're back.
So we start this
where are we?
act, and we're working on the taxes again in the kitchen. I believe they're dressed as twins, Alex and Andy.
Yes, Alex and Andy are both wearing their Rick Santorum uniform of the sleeveless vest.
Yes.
Oh, so, you know what? In the last scene, Tina Yothers was wearing like a button-down collared shirt with a loose tie, and her hair was done up. She looked really cool. I liked her outfit and the way she was done up.
I agree. So we're in this scene, and Alex and Andy are dressed like accountants. Andy makes a bad joke. I don't remember what it was. I blocked it out. It's like childbirth.
Oh, it was. I actually thought this joke was the one that was gonna like really piss you off, because what happened was, Alex asked appreciation, and Nick is like, I don't know what that means. And then Andy says the line of what depreciation is, and says it like,
and he says it in bits because he can only learn it in bits, and the words were totally disconnected, like he had picked words out of a word bag.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazingly bad, and it was probably the worst line reading he's ever done, but it makes sense because it is a difficult line to do.
And so then I go back to square one and go, what were the writers thinking? He can't deliver lines like that. You may want him to, but he can't do that.
Yeah, you would think they would have exhausted this possibility during the read-through at the table, that they were like,
yeah,
oh, this is a funny bit, and then it didn't work.
Yeah, it's just not going to work with Brian, sorry, because he's special. And so Jennifer comes in this scene, and we find out that she's been getting some really bad grades, but in spite of the bad grades, she's extraordinarily popular. People like her.
Now this is tough, because as we know, Jennifer, she was in a rock band that toured all of Ohio, where she was a big star, but apparently she's not popular enough to quell her terrible self-doubt.
Oh my goodness. I just thought to myself, this is such an uncharacteristically bad moment for Jennifer. And once again, I must go and say, all praises to Tina Yothers, who's terrific in this episode in spite of the material. I have no problems with her. I thought she played it as well as she possibly could. But it just doesn't make sense. It's not the Jennifer Keaton we know getting bad grades just to be popular so that people will like her. Why haven't we seen an episode where Jennifer's unpopular and people don't like her?
Yeah, we really haven't seen that. I mean, it's been nothing. There's not been one way or the other. She's not been popular, necessary, or unpopular, and that topic has never been broached.
Well, she's been very busy being the wet nurse for Andrew.
Yeah, exactly. And it's surprising when Tim gives her his Letterman jacket, on the back it says Tom Dewey Middle School.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were in middle school. I thought they were in high school.
I thought so too. So they were in 8th grade, not 9th grade. All right, whatever.
Right.
We cut to the science room where Jennifer has failed science. She got an F in science on her science project. And apparently mom and dad want to go and talk to the science teacher, Mr. Ryder.
I don't know who this guy was, but I thought he was a good character actor.
Well, Paul?
Oh, no! Oh man, I am just walking into it.
If you're interested, I'll just tell you just a little bit about this gentleman. His name is Ken Lerner. He is the younger brother of veteran character actor Michael Lerner, who was nominated for an Oscar for Barton Fink.
What?
His brother is Michael Lerner from Barton Fink fame. Ken has been working steadily in the business for 86, 96, 2000, 30 years, and is currently a faculty member at the New York Film Academy where I teach.
Amazing.
Just recently,
What does
he was
he
on.
teach? Acting or?
He's an acting teacher. He teaches acting, and sometimes he teaches business of acting as well. Sometimes he teaches audition technique, but more acting, more regular acting coach. And this season, he was seen in Feud. He had a really nice part in Feud, Betty and Joan. And if you IMDb him, he has you could roll it out like a comedic joke of how long the list of credits is for this character actor.
That's amazing.
But
so, have you talked to him about this episode?
No, because I just watched it and then did this. So I didn't know that he was in this episode more than 2 hours ago.
Right. Okay.
So,
well, you'll have to touch base next week and find out, when you talk to him about the episode and his performance, what he was thinking.
I will tell you, I'm probably not going to have that conversation with you. We've passed each other in the hallways.
Wait.
We've passed each other in the hallways.
What did you say? You were breaking up.
We've passed each other in the hallways at school for 6 years, possibly 7 years. And we have said, I could count the amount of words on 2 hands to each other. Not the friendliest guy ever.
Whoa. My God. This is really interesting. Because he seemed like such a nice... Corey, if I may, he seemed like such a nice teacher. He seemed very personable. He seemed with the parents of Stephen and Elise. He seemed like the type of guy that you could go up to and say, "Excuse me, I have some questions about this or that." And he seemed like the type of guy that would take you out for coffee, pick up the check, and it's amazing when you find out actors aren't the people they play on TV.
I'm taking a moment. I'm a little upset now.
Corey, who wouldn't like you? What's going on?
I asked myself that question when I asked my wife, why do you think Ken Lerner passes me for 7 years? And really, every time, and I say, now I do this. I told her a few years ago, it was like, why won't he say hi to me? I don't understand that. It's like you see each other like, twice a week. And now I just do it really loudly. I go, "Hi, Ken!" I'm like Oprah Winfrey.
That's awesome.
I just embarrassed the shit out of him. It was on the streets yesterday. I was leaving the building. He was walking into the building. I nodded my head as we were making eye contact with each other, walking down Barham Boulevard, and he averted his glance. And the minute he averted his glance, I screamed out, "Have a nice day, Ken!"
You know what? I think my favorite thing in life is...
Yeah.
Oh, good. My favorite thing in life is being passive-aggressively nice.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So the terrific Ken Lerner's in the scene. And Jennifer, he's meeting with Elise and Stephen Keaton. And Jennifer comes in, and she announces to everybody, once again, "I have a boyfriend. I'm popular. Everybody likes me."
You know what's funny is we never see anybody in this episode, any of her peers, who think that she's super cool or are inviting her to parties.
That is exactly right. never surrounded by this group of like pretty cheerleader girls that you'd think that maybe that would have been the enticement. But no, it's really just Will Wheaton. And he actually enters into the scene and he announces that he got an F just like Jennifer did on that science project. He got an F in science, and that means his grades are too low to continue to be on the baseball team. So he's been thrown off the baseball team, and he storms out of the room. And Jennifer doesn't know whether he's angry at her, angry at Mr. Ryder, or just angry in general.
And so she yells at everybody and then storms off too.
Setting up what we all know to be the final scene coming up.
Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da.
We're in
the final scene.
We're in the living room, and Alex has Nick's completed tax form. And it seems as though Nick is owed, or Nick owes $11. Is that what has happened here?
Oh, honestly, this is as boring your taxes. At this point, it was like 90 seconds of talking about how much he owes him, how much taxes he gets back, how much Andy gets in candy, and it was just like, oh, Jesus. I was already...
right?
It was a short thing, and I was bored.
I'm with you. So Alex says that it turns out that Nick owes more money in payment to have his taxes done than he got back from the government as a tax refund. So, and the tax firm that apparently did his taxes is now called Keaton and Frere.
Whew, get it? That's French for brother.
Oh, okay, I'm awake now. Steve and Elise show up for what we know to be, once again, the last scene. It's the last scene of Family Ties. Oh boy.
And so so it's funny because Steven skedaddles, and the lesson is learned between Elise and Jennifer.
I thought it was going to be Mom, Dad, and Jennifer, but no, it was Mom and Jennifer. And here's my takeaway from the entire episode, Paul. And I know you probably have a totally different takeaway, but if I was going to sum up this episode in one line, in one brilliant line of dialogue, that line would be, it's hard to compete with Dopey.
That's true universally. In every situation, it's hard to compete with Dopey, whether you're one of the other 6 dwarfs,
right?
Even if you are, the president of another country dealing with our Dopey,
right? Or, as in this case, it's hard to compete with, being Dopey. And that was the last note I took.
Says that all the Dopey. What's that?
And that was the last note I took.
Oh. Yeah, so like Jennifer says that it's tough for her to compete with all the Dopey girls for Tim's attention and love.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, ultimately, the whole message that Elise gives to Jennifer is be yourself, and people are going to like you or not like you, and all that sort of stuff that you would expect. It's not the most, hard-hitting thing, but it's Family Ties. What do you expect?
It is.
And so then Will Wheaton comes in, and Elise does a funny little bit of, nothing. No one says anything, and she goes, "Oh, what's that? I'll be right there." And
yes.
and she leaves. I thought that was cute. Good job by Meredith Baxter. And they have a scene about that. Jennifer says, "I know what baseball is." She's pretended this whole time not to know what baseball is. And then she's like, also, it's my fault that you got kicked off the team because I pretended to be dumb, and so that made us not do well on the test or the project. And he's like, well, it's not your fault. She's like, I'm really smart, and I didn't want to be too smart for you to like me. And he's like, well, that's not ever been the case. I have just been intimidated to talk to you because I'm I feel like I'm too dumb to talk to you. And she's like, well, that's not true. And so it's nice. These cute kids have a tete-a-tete, and they work past their insecurities for their first chance at love. It's so nice. It's cheesy, but it works. And then they sit down to do their homework, and he goes, how smart are you? And she goes, don't ask. Credits. And I was like, oh, nice. A nice little tag outline. I thought that was great, too. So ultimately, very cheesy. Reinvented the wheel here. Done well. I thought it was interesting. Ultimately, it's not great. Corey?
It's moments like these that I truly miss Scott Jones's presence.
Why? What moment like this?
Because he'll agree with you. And then I could say,
you know what, though? I think he'll say, I think he'll agree with you if you said the last thing. If you said the thing that was last, he'll agree with you. And if it's me that says the last thing, he'll agree with me.
So, save for a couple of really horrendous Andy moments, and my feeling that the whole show was sort of anti-feminist, that the girls should have known better by this point in their lives. Other than that, it's not a terrible episode.
Yes, other than that.
We had very little of the typical Alex P. Keaton sociopathy that we usually get.
That's true. It's very...
Think about Tim, think about me.
Yep. Very low key.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it is what it is. Well, how many episodes do we have in the season? Do we have another two-parter coming up?
Yeah. We have a two-parter season finale.
And is that two-parter season finale a clip show, or is that new material?
I don't know. Corey, there's like 4 more episodes to go. This is such a long season.
Really? Oh, it's like 32 episodes long. They didn't have the foresight to think that the three of us would be doing a podcast 30 years later, reviewing their show, and just 32 episodes, just too much for one season.
Yeah. You know what? And it's like on Saturday Night Live, how they do, what, 5 episodes and they have a break or something?
Yeah,
or 3 episodes and they have a break?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, we get so burned out. We need that week off. And I sit there myself being like, fuck you. You're living the life. You're doing the dream. Meanwhile, we've done 32 of these, and I'm dying.
Oh, boy.
I just need to. Anyway, so on that note, on that happy note, rate and review our show on iTunes. For questions and comments, email us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at QTWFT for updates, and you can follow each of us. I'm at Paul Packler.
I'm at Corpep, and Scott's at Follow Jones.
And you can like our page on Facebook. We'd like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is a comic book publisher and an online community supporting creators and fans through daily reviews, interviews, and podcasts that span the pop culture spectrum. Fanbasepress.com. Also, we'd like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs Family Ties and our theme song, Without Us. Check out Perry's website, perryadams.com. Also, Bryant Dillon, who created our fantastic drawing and artwork, as well as edits our show. Bryant is the president and co-founder of Fanbase Press. Follow him on Twitter at Comic Book Slayer. Finally, we'd like to thank Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's graphic designer, for designing our logo. And finally, Scott, we miss you. Come back to us.
Scott, come back.
Bye.
Bye.